Welcome to CodeForArtists.com. I'm Miles DeCoster, and I'm going to do a demo today of a rotating knobs library that has been added to p5js.org's website, and it lets us make what it sounds like, rotating knobs. So let's see how that works. So if you download the library, you're going to get a folder with an images folder inside of it with some various graphics. You can also make your own graphics in Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever. PNG and SVG are preferred formats because you can have transparency. Unless you want square knobs or something, you could use a JPEG, but we've got PNGs, SVGs, etc. The size doesn't matter a whole lot. I do them like 300 or 400 pixels square, so that they've got plenty of resolution. You're not going to make buttons that big, but that seems to work out all right. Then we've got the main file with the knob maker in it. So when I set up a new file, I add that to my folder once I've done it. I'm going to do this within processing, which has a p5js editing capability. You could do it in brackets, you could do it in the p5js editor, lots of places. Doesn't really matter, the code's the same. So once it's in there, there's my knob maker function. We don't really need to mess with that. And of course our index is loading all the stuff in, and the main file, the sketch. So we've got knob 1, knob 2, knob 3, and so I've set up a canvas. I've got my knob 1 equal new make knob. So make knob is the name of the function inside of knob maker. It wants 9 pieces of information. It wants to know the image I want to use for the knob. Since it's in an images folder, I put that in first, and the file name. If you add your own, it would be your file name. The next thing it wants to know is the diameter of the button. That's in pixels. Then it wants to know the location, the X location, horizontal, and the vertical location, height. Then it wants to know the number range to be returned by the button. So this button is going to go from 0 to 100. The next number is the default value of the button, so it doesn't have to be 0. Start out, in this case I'm putting it at 30. The next number is the number of decimal places in the display value. And that's a little different than the returned value, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. The last thing is simply the label that goes under the button. And there are additional properties that we don't set initially, but we can assign when we create it. If we want to set the text color, we use the text color property, and I've set it to cyan. The text PTs for point size, and so I've set that to 24. So let's see what this button looks like. And there it is. So we're talking about the first button right now. So I've set the display font size to 24. I've set the color to cyan. I've set the default value to 30. If I click and drag, that's 0, and the maximum is 100. So click and drag. Notice the cursor should turn into the pointer. Once I click and drag, it stays the pointer until I release. And that's that. So if I look at the second one, again, I'm telling it which image to use. I'm giving it a diameter. I'm giving it the position on the canvas. This one's going from -1 to 1. So I might use that, for instance, for a panning knob. So I've called it panning. In the audio part of p5js, the sound library, the panning values go from -1 to 1. I'm starting it out at 0, which would be in the middle, basically, and I'm telling it to use 3 decimal places in the display value. So let's look at that. So there it is. It starts out in the middle. It'll pan -1 to 1. And in this case, I set a different size and color for the text color and text PT. So the last knob, I've set the text color to an array in your 0000, So if you're familiar with p5js color, you know that this is basically it's black, but the transparency of the alpha value is set to 0, so you don't see it. So basically it's a way of turning off the display. So we don't see the word numbers, we don't see any return value or display value showing. We preview that. There it is. This one is hooked up to alter the height of a bar next to it. So if I look at my code, so in the setup I create the buttons, and in the draw function I need to add an update function for each one of my instances. So each button gets an update function. And in this case, the next little chunk of code here is drawing the box next to the third button. So first I do the black outline, and then I do the fill. And so this is how I access the value of a knob, for instance. So my knob3.knob value will return the value of that knob. And so I'm assigning that to my height of my rectangle. I'm making it negative because I want it to go up instead of down. And finally, I need to add the active method and the inactive method to my mouse pressed and mouse released. This is necessary in order to get the cursor behavior to work correctly. So let's do that one more time. And I've added things here that I will uncomment. And notice here we've got the knob value, which is what is returned by the knob. I've used that up here. And the display value. And we want to see what the difference between these two is. And basically the display value is based on the knob value, but it makes it more presentable. So let's see what that actually means. So there my values are both 0, 0, 0. And you see when I start using the knob, my return value is this, multiple digit thing. So basically all I've done with the display value is I've made it so you can set the number of decimal places. So you could manipulate the return value in various ways. If you just wanted integers, you could use other methods within p5js to do that. But what I want to emphasize here is that it's the knob value that is getting returned by the knob, not the display value. The display value is calculated based on the knob value, but it's not the same thing. Okay, in this case, I've also, notice I put this on as a text value. So in that case, I turned off the internal display of the value and the label by setting the color to transparent so you don't see it. But I still have access to those values, and I can put them on the screen. I can put them wherever I want. If I don't like the way they're positioned vis-a-vis the knobs in the kind of the default behavior, you can set their display to nothing and then put them on your canvas wherever you want them. And that's it. I hope it is helpful. And thank you.